top 10 as we march towards opening day. We're going to do this all the way up until opening day as well. And we're doing a segment. And I think this one here is what they say the coup de grace. The best, whatever that means. Coup de grace means it's really good there. The best, I think the best position in all of baseball. I think that without question, I think there isn't any, you have the most talented players at any position in the league now at shortstop. So it was hard. I left some guys off, I think, that are good players as well. It may be a little bit of a surprise to some people in some spots. I don't think it's cut and dry either who was number one, but I think this was. But you look at a lot of these guys; these are the best. These are the best 10 players in each position, and it's interesting to see. I think overall, I think as far as talent in baseball, Darby Swanson for the Cubs. I like Darby Swanson. I think he's very good defensively. I think he's only understated because of all the talent that teams have around the league. Darby, I think, was he as good last year as he's been? Stat-wise, no. 16-242. I think he had like 16 RBIs. I'm sorry, 16 home runs, etc. But I still like him. I think you can see a little bit more from him, but I'm still putting him in the top 10. I think he'll bounce back definitely with Kyle Tucker and some more help in the lineup. I think that's absolutely good for him as well. Carlos Correa. Injuries is the only thing keeping him lower. Carlos Correa, I think, nearly got one of the biggest contracts in Major League history. He's going to hit for a good average. We know that. He's going to give you a solid defense. We know that. But can he give you enough games to really get into that echelon as well? He keeps missing a lot of games. This was the concern that the Giants had before and the Mets had, giving him that huge contract. Can he stay healthy? But I think he's fantastic. I think Correa, is one of the reasons why the Twins, if they make the playoffs, will make the playoffs. Carlos Correa, number 8. All right. I see De La Cruz. I think you got to pump the brakes a bit on De La Cruz. I think some of the stuff I've seen him at number 1, best short. I'm not there yet. Not there yet. Good second half of the season last year. No question about it. He had 259. I think he had 25 home runs, 76 RBIs. So good second half of the season for De La Cruz. And definitely the talent is there. He's going to steal a lot of bases, which I love. I think he's a great defensive player. At times, I think it's a little more flashy than it is consistent. But I don't have him in the look. He's in the top 10, right? But I already see somebody in the comments saying, are you nuts for having him at 8? But he's not. I can't put him any higher than 8. Although I agree with all the people, the sky's the limit. He can certainly prove me wrong and be much higher. Willie Adams, now of the Giants, really good last year as well. So he had 32 homers, over 100 RBIs. I thought he had a really, really good season. He's going now to a Giants team where he's going to have a chance to be the main contributor for them going forward. I like him. I don't know how much better he gets, how much higher the ceiling is. I think 6, 7. That's about right. I think that's kind of what he is as well. I do have him ahead of De La Cruz because I think he's more of a steady hitter on a consistent basis. I think he's going to hit more than De La Cruz consistently, at least in this year as well. But he was really the luggage carrier for the Brewers last year. Got a lot of money for them. Francisco Lindor almost needs no introduction. One of the super shortstops in the all of baseball as well. Lindor, 30 home runs over, of course. Great speed, great bat. I think, look, to put him in the lineup with Juan Soto is going to be downright scary. It's one of the reasons why I think I think it's one of the reasons why everybody likes the Mets and their chances of winning. So I really like Lindor. See some slow starts with him. That's the only beef I have. He's starting slow more than I like. I think I see some lulls where he's just not, I don't see any reason why I can't hit 300 and do with the talent that he has at times. But other than that, really no complaints. Trey Turner, another guy that kind of started slow, had like a bad first half, but Trey Turner has been good for a real long time. Solid contact hitter. That's what I like about him. Definitely a guy worrying a little bit about his age. I think he's going to be 31. I think he's 30 or 31. So I think that's a bit of a concern for me as far as Trey Turner goes. But other than that, I like him as an offensive player. I think he could have been number one if the position wasn't so deep. Trey Turner, I think, is one of the best hitters in all of baseball. So I really like Turner as well. Corey Seager, I dropped him down a little bit more this year. Injuries last year is a factor. Can he stay healthy for a season? And reclaim and get higher. I thought Seager, when the Rangers won the World Series, was fantastic. Not quite as good last year, but look, 30 home runs, 270 plus hitter. So I thought Seager was outstanding. Just got to keep him healthy on the field for an entire season. Very competitive spot. I mean, Seager is fantastic. I think he might be, again, you look at him, I think he's good enough, obviously, to be the best player on the team who won the World Series, and I have him at 4. So take a look at how good Seager is at 4 in the whole list. Our guy, Gunnar Henderson. The only thing I don't like about Gunnar is his defense. That's the only knock I have. I'm shocked I haven't heard more people complain about the defense Gunnar Henderson is. He makes some flashy plays. It's very Derek Jeter-like. He'll make some good defensive plays, and then he'll kind of mess up one or do something. Just needs to be his glove, needs to be a little more consistent. I like to see him. We know what he's going to do offensively. 37 homers last year, 281 average, most valuable Oriole, all-star. I think this – it's a chance he's the best player in all of baseball in the American League sooner rather than later. I think at some point when Judge isn't there, and he's at 3. He's at number 3. But I think Gunnar is that. But the defense, I think, is the only reason why I even had him there, as great as he's been. Mookie Betts. Betts, I think, is going to the Hall of Fame at some point. I think he's still going. Injuries a bit kind of last year is a slight concern. Betts is going to be 33 at the end of next year. He's going to be 32, but he's a phenomenal hitter. 289, 19 home runs, 75 RBIs. No reason to think in that lineup, especially that they have with all that protection, that Mookie Betts isn't going to be one of the best players in all of baseball. Again, he always has been MVP candidate again. So Betts, I think, the number one in actually, I will say I don't know if they're going to leave him at short all year. They're making a lot of moves, obviously, so they may move him into the outfield or second or whatever. But they're saying now, so we're going to leave him at shortstop, that he's going to start at shortstop for them. But number one is Bobby Witt. I think Bobby Witt last year, had it not been for the year that Judge had, I'd have certainly voted for him in MVP. There is no question about it. 32 home runs, led the league in triples, 332 average, 109 RBIs. I do like his defense. I think he's good on the field too. Witt, I think, was sensational all season. Witt, I think, might be the best player in the American League. You could say that about Henderson. You could say that about Witt. Tremendously stacked position, but I think the head of the table, not Roman Reigns, Bobby Witt, number one. There you go. So a stack position. Great players at shortstop. Top 10 list there. Some players, man, just got left out. But I think you saw it like Little League Baseball. Where did they put the best player? They put him at shortstop. You're definitely seeing some of the best era shortstop we've ever had in the history of baseball right now. Outstanding players. They're at shortstop. One more segment. Roster breakdown. Go ahead. Roster breakdown for the Baltimore Orioles. So next week, one of my favorite segments, we're going to do the last pretty much of the offseason because we're about to start spring training here pretty soon. State of the franchise. But before we get to the state of the franchise, we're going to break down the roster about what's good, what's bad, what the expectations are of this Oriole team going into 2025. So who's the best players on that roster? So we're going to break these down into levels, somewhat like we do the tiers, but not exact. But what are the levers of the teams for the Orioles? So the elites, I have two elite players that we have. Gunnar Henderson, we just talked about him in the shortstop list. I think Gunnar, the sky is the limit. I mean, the only negative close that you have with Gunnar Henderson is I don't particularly love him at shortstop. I'd like to see him move to third base. It doesn't matter. He's going to get you 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, hit around 300. Fantastic hitter. I thought he was fantastic all last season. The sky's the limit for Gunnar. I'm going to put Felix Bautista there as well. The injury obviously is a concern, but I think before last we saw him, he was one of the better closers in all of baseball. I have no reason to think that that's going to change a lot going forward. Gunnar, I think, is going to be Felix, I think, is going to be a top closer again. They are going to start him slow, which I don't like hearing in spring training, but we will see how that goes. But I think Felix Bautista, I think anybody would like to have Felix Bautista as a closer. Elite play. So these are all-stars that we have, or potential all-stars. Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westburg, Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez. Some of you may look at the last two as weird, but I'm going to put them there. I think Adley, there's no question about it. I don't have him in the elite category. Not quite. I think he might be the best shortstop, but I think he's dipped down a little bit. I don't have him with the top 15, 20 players in the league where you would put in the league or your top. He's maybe the top of his position, but I wouldn't put him that high yet. All-star, though, for sure. So is Jordan Westburg. I don't think there's any question about it. I think I love Jordan Westburg as a hitter. I think he's outstanding defensive player at second and third. I think he's better at second, but I think he's really good at both. Zach Eflin, I think, is going to go to an all-star game this year. Had he stay healthy, I thought he was a godsend last year. So will Grayson. Grayson has just got to stay healthy. But Grayson, I think, is for sure going to the all-star game. I think he's the future of the rotation. I think they're looking for him. The question with Grayson is, can he stay healthy for a whole season? That's the biggest concern with Grayson Rodriguez. These guys, I'm going to put the starters, solid starters category. I'm going to put Ryan Mounty there. I'm going to put Mounty there, Ryan Mountcastle. If he remains, Mets kind of stupid around, but I think if you keep him, you got a solid starter. Tyler O'Neill, for sure. No question about it. With the season he had last year in Boston, he's going to go ahead and pay big dividends. I believe it's going to be left field. I think it's going to be Tyler in left field like he was last year, and they're going to move Colton to right. I don't know that yet, but we'll see for sure when we start the season. But that's what I'm hearing here so far. Cedric, again, I'm going to put him as a solid starter. Great second half for Cedric. I think it was kind of underrated. But he's a solid starter. I wouldn't, no longer an all-star or anything like that, but a solid starter. Colton Cowser, I think, is a very good starter. Potential all-star, but I'm not putting him there yet. I think that's a little bit hyperbolic. Second year, I wouldn't put him in the all-star category for sure yet, but it's possible. Charlie Morton and Dean Kramer, decent starters. I think they're workhorses, decent starters. I think you're definitely going to get innings from those guys. Those guys have shown they're going to give innings as well. Solid starters as well. Some people might disagree with Kramer, but I put him in the solid category. I think for where he is, a solid third, fourth starter. Role players. So I think these guys are going to give you something. They're definitely major leaguers that are going to give you something. A lot of relievers are in this category. Ryan O'Hearn, not quite as good last year. I don't know what his role is going to be. There's a chance they may move on from him or him not play as much. We'll see as well. I think he's excellent situationally, though. I think like he's one of these guys, I think he doesn't need to play every day. If he doesn't, he'll definitely be good spots. Gary Sanchez, Ramon Urias, Jorge Mateo, they're going to come off your bench. They know their jobs. Like they're vets as well. I don't like Urias as a bench player as much. He's actually good coming off the bench in terms of when he comes off the actual bench and plays. When he's not starting, he's decent there, but he's not decent. But what they keep doing is they putting him in after he hasn't played in several days. He's got to play more or just come off the bench. Mateo, we don't know what his situation is. He should be healthy enough to go, but we know we're going to get a lot of stolen bases, great defense. The relievers, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Yadier Cano, Colano Perez, Greg Soto, Andrew Kittredge, and Keegan Aiken. The only one here, Kittredge, I was kind of tempted to put him in the other category, but he's a little bit older. As good as his stuff is, Dominguez, I'm not as high on him as some Oriole fans seems to be. Cano, not quite as good. Relievers are very volatile. It's kind of hard to put them in a solid every year, like unless you've really seen it or something like that over year after year after year. Put them in the role player category and the decent category as well. One more here, developing. So this is where we don't know what we're getting. Okay, guys should have a shot on the roster, but we don't know yet. Jackson Holiday, we're hoping for the best. Still, I think we're going to get a good Jackson Holiday. I think he's way too talented as well. I think in the future, I think he's going to be the shortstop. Heston Kjerstad, boy, I don't know, man. If they not sign O'Neill, I don't know how much he plays. I don't know where the room is for Kjerstad to really get a lot better, so I don't know what they're going to get. Daz Cameron, I think, is probably, to me, the favorite. They made a lot of moves for outfielders here. Too many to even go over. Then they released guy. So I think Cameron, though, is the guy they're keeping, or he could be the guy they're keeping, but I don't know what they're getting. Sagano, I think he should be pretty good, but he's coming from Japan, hasn't pitched at all really in the U.S. We'll see here. I really like Sagano going forward. Suarez, I almost hate putting him here as good as he was last year, but he's an older guy. He's actually one of the oldest pitchers on the team, and I don't know what his role is going to be. Can we get another season like that? A little unsure. Not enough track record for me. In the last two, Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells, I don't know if we get anything from them. Bradish may not go at all this season. Wells, I think we're going to see him at some point. What roles will they even have? I think you got 5 starters already as well. So there you go. Next week, we're going to do our state of the franchise. We're going to break down the whole roster